This is Joey Riggle from Biblical Prophecies.
Holy shit, Joe, you have music now. Well done, sir, and a very pleasant selection at that.
I apologize that I wasn't able to make videos lately because I just finished my finals in high school.
It has been a while, yes, and I've missed you, but it is good to see you back.
I'm now going to a community college, and I'm proud of that.
Good, I'm glad to see that you're going to be continuing your education. I would hope that in your time at college you would open your mind a bit and form your own opinions rather than simply regurgitating the opinions of those who raised you.
I'm sorry to say this, but I really didn't feel comfortable doing Revelation chapter 12 because that video requires a lot of research, but I would like to do it in the future, so I'm going to try to do some research and hopefully it can come soon. I'm going to be answering 2 questions people often have about Judas Iscariot.
Oh good, this is one of the things that actually initially drove me to question my faith. The question of whether Judas had any free will in his supposed betrayal of Jesus is a rather haunting question as a Christian that really calls into question the morality of your God.
The first question will be, does Acts chapter 1 verse 18 and Matthew chapter 27 verse 5 contradict each other? And the second question is Judas going to be in heaven or hell?
Wait, but those are the easy questions. I want to know what you think about Judas's free will. Damn it. Okay, let's get started then.
Does Acts chapter 1 verse 18 and Matthew chapter 27 verses 5 contradict each other?
The question you're actually looking to ask is, do Acts 1:18 and Matthew 27:5 contradict each other? And the answer is a resounding yes, but I can't wait to hear how you try and make it fit without contradiction.
The answer is no, and I'm about to explain why. But first, let's take a look at the 2 passages. Acts chapter 1 verse 18 states, "Now this man purchased a field with the wages of iniquity, and falling headlong, he burst open in the middle, and all his entrails gushed out."
Such charming wording. Remind me to never ever use entrails and gush in the same sentence. So what this says is that Judas used the money that he made selling Jesus out to buy a field and then fell headfirst into said field and burst open when he hit the ground.
Matthew chapter 27 verse 5 states, "Then he threw down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed and went and hanged himself."
Okay, so in this account, Judas did not buy a field with the money, but rather he threw it down in the temple and then went and hanged himself somewhere unspecified.
I'm going to make a quick comment here that in Matthew chapter 27 verse 7, it says that the money was used for the exact same thing as in Acts chapter 1 verse 18. It states, "And they consulted together and bought with them the potter's field to bury strangers in."
Now important to note here is that the quote-unquote they the verse mentions is referring to the chief priests, not Judas, whereas the verse in Acts states that Judas used the money that he made to buy a field himself and then died in it. Also important to note is that Matthew makes no mention at all of where Judas hangs himself.
Now first, you gotta keep in mind Matthew was a tax collector. Matthew chapter 9 verse 9 states, "As Jesus passed on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax office, and he said to him, 'Follow me.' So he arose and followed him."
Yes, according to the book of Matthew, the character of Matthew is a tax collector. I understand that, but why do I need to keep that in mind?
And Luke, who wrote the Acts of the Apostles, was a physician. Colossians chapter 4 verse 14 states, "Luke, the beloved physician in Demas, greet you."
The biblical Luke was indeed thought to be a physician, but you cannot claim that Luke wrote the book of Acts as you have no evidence to demonstrate that. The book of Luke and the book of Acts were both written by the same author, however this author was anonymous and was only many years later arbitrarily titled Luke.
Because Luke was a physician, he described more of the details of the hanging than Matthew did. Matthew just said what happened to Judas, but Luke described what actually happened during Judas's hanging.
Oh no, you think Matthew actually wrote Matthew too? That is once again unsurprisingly false. The book of Matthew was written many years after the supposed life of Jesus, and was written yet again by an anonymous author who was only later arbitrarily called Matthew.
Now I know what you're all thinking. You're probably thinking, how can a hanging be gruesome?
I mean, I was more so still thinking about the huge assumptions you made as to the authors of the Gospels, but carry on.
When you get hung, your body just hangs with no blood or organs coming from the outside. Well, I'll explain it to you right now.
Yeah, I would say you definitely owe me some sort of explanation, as, quote, when you get hung, your body just hangs there with no blood or organs coming from the outside makes absolutely no damn sense.
Well, keep in mind it was probably hot during Jesus' passion, so Judas's body was hanging in the hot sun, and the bacteria inside his body would be actively digesting his tissues and cells. The pressure of the bacterial metabolism causes the fluid to come out of the tissues and cells and into the body cavities. This caused Judas's body to become bloated. Judas's body was similar to an overinflated balloon that was about ready to pop. When Judas fell to the ground, which was most likely either due to the branch or the rope breaking itself, the skin broke, and then all his internal organs spilled out.
Okay, first of all, you've made some assumptions here that are not warranted unless you start with the presupposition that Judas hanged himself outside, which is not at all shown to be the case in Matthew, where it says nothing at all about where he hanged himself.
Basically saying there is no contradiction, it's just two descriptions of Judas's death told by two different people.
Actually, the basic takeaway from this section of the video is that there is absolutely a contradiction, and this is an example of the extreme lengths one has to go to in order to show otherwise.
Is Judas going to be going to heaven or hell? We do not know the answer. Only God knows that answer because he is God.
Wow, I never thought so much wisdom could be packed into less than 10 seconds. You're right, no reason to have ever even asked the question in the first place.
However, if Judas does go to hell, he isn't in hell at the moment. He won't be in hell until after the judgment. 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 7 states, "But the heavens and the earth, which are now preserved by the same word, are reserved for fire until the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men." Thank you for watching my video.
No, Joe. Thank you for the free content as usual. I will note that your visual and audio quality has improved tenfold over the course of the 3 main videos on your channel, which I do appreciate and applaud. I would, however, like to see a video going over the actual hard question regarding the character of Judas, that being whether he had free will in his betrayal of Jesus. Anyway, that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and a comment down below letting me know what you'd like to see me respond to next. It's a bit late this month, but I'm proud to announce that over the course of the month of July, 10% of all profits from the God Is Not Good merch store will be donated to the Tri-State Freethinkers in honor of the 3rd annual Ark Encounter protest on the 7th of this month. Thank you all very much for watching, and as always, have a blessed day, fellow heathens.